Welcome to another episode of Cadence Fishing TV. And this is our 5th episode in our Fly Fishery Focus series of videos. And I'm here at the absolutely beautiful Eyebrook Fishery and with Lloyd, the fishery manager. So thanks for inviting us here today, Lloyd.
Yeah, no worries.
We're fishing in the middle of June, so we've had some quite hot weather.
Yeah.
Obviously it's quite bright. What do you think about the prospects for today?
Well, to be honest, today the water temperature has been relatively cool until the last few days. Obviously, the reduction in the northerly winds has led to the water temperature increasing.
Yeah.
So this sort of time of year, you're looking at a lot of the damsels. The damsel hatch can be prolific on Ibrook. And the good thing about the air temperature being higher, that the damsels are more inclined to hatch off. Mm-hmm. It's one of the very few places in the country where you can actually catch on the adult damsels, sort of blue, in a blue sort of phase.
And it's a very famous water for its dry fly fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very much so. I mean, the top of the water, washing line floaters, dries, all sort of targeting the fish in the first 2-3 foot of water, really. Well,
I'm really excited about fishing today. A little bit of history about the venue. I've fished here a few times in the past. I've always had a wonderful time. The actual reservoir was created for the steel industry, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. I mean, it's designed, obviously, for the cooling facility for the steelworks, dating right back to the 40s when it was first sort of built. And even today, I mean, the water itself is owned by Tata Steel. Admittedly, they don't draw off the water at the minute, but they have done in the past.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's a day ticket water.
It is, yeah.
And you've got members as well.
We have, yeah.
Yeah, and you've got fantastic facilities. I was reading up a bit about the history in the lodge. You've got a wonderful tackle shop. Yep. You've got a kitchen, haven't you, with toilet facilities. Yeah. You've obviously got the boats, and you were telling me about the wheelie boats. You've got how many wheelie boats?
Yeah, we've got 3 wheelie boats in total. We've got 2 Mark IIs and 1 cooling boat.
Yeah.
The third boat, we can put an electric engine on it, so that gives us the full range of the 2 Mark II boats.
Brilliant.
We do quite a lot of work with the England Disabled Fly Fishermen, actually, to be honest.
Oh, that's fantastic, yeah. I think it's absolutely fantastic conditions, and what a fantastic day. So I can't wait to get out. I'm meeting up with my great mate, Rob Middleton, and we're going to have a boat today, and so I can't wait to get out.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Lloyd. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, we've got on the boat and I'm with my great mate Rob Middleton, and I thought we'd just take this opportunity to have a look at the rigs and the gear that we're going to use to start with, and then perhaps talk to Rob and understand about what he thinks going to be the best tactics for today. So Rob, we've set up a couple of 10-foot rods. I've set up a 7-weight, you've set up an 8-weight, and you've helped me out by giving me one of your leaders, which is a 3 fly cast. So I've got 2 droppers, and that's a 20-foot leader, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me you're thinking about that, you know, what flies are we going to start with? What's going to be the tactics to start with?
Well, unfortunately conditions today are not perfect for fly fishing, but I do believe the fish have been high up in the water for quite some time. So I think we're going to go out on floating lines. We're going to try up in the water, fishing something buoyant on the point.
Yeah.
And then 2 nymphs, maybe then I'm going to go a 4 fly cast. So I'm going to have a fab on the top dropper, a small booby on the point, and 2 nymphs in the middle on the floating line, and just slowly figure 8 it back, hopefully catching the upper layers of the water. I believe where we're going to, the fish are holding in around 2 foot of water.
Yeah.
And it's very shallow. Yeah. So anything that's going to keep your flies up in the water is going to be beneficial for us.
Yeah, I was talking to Lloyd at the start in the introduction, and we talked about how fantastic this venue is for dry fly fishing. So hopefully later on today, if I can, I might set up a bit lighter rod and just try with a dry fly. He talked about the damsels, and they're absolutely everywhere, aren't they, at the moment? So that must be a great tactic for the fish as well. But I think you're right. We've had sort of 30-degree temperatures, haven't we, the last few days? So I think it could be a bit challenging. So probably starting off with the nymphs is a good tactic. So you want us to head up over to the top of the reservoir, yeah?
Yeah, we're going to go right the way around into the shallower water. We'll give that a go. And obviously being so bright, they might start moving up into the deeper water, but then, you know, a little bit later on we can move the way up reservoir into the deeper water, maybe change tactics to either dries or maybe some buzzer fishing down deeper.
Brilliant.
We'll see how it goes.
Absolutely, mate. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to fish with you again. We haven't been out for a while, have we?
No.
And we've got plenty of water, and I've even got a couple of beers in the cool bag, so
Brilliant.
we might need them later.
Okay.
So let's do it, Rob, all right?
Brilliant. Oh, I've got in this cooler bag here. So we used to do it in our course fishing days. Dairy milk. But you're only allowed a chunk once you've caught fish.
Okay. I like your tactics, mate. Let's get out and catch one. I'm feeling pretty peckish, to be honest.
Oh.
Well, Rob, we've had a couple of drifts up at the shallow end of the lake, and there's plenty of fish about, aren't there?
Lots of fish, and there's lots of damsels. But unfortunately at the moment, we've not had any.
We've tried a few different flies, haven't we? We've started off fishing with some nymphs, and we tried some dry flies as well. I've missed a couple, and I think you have as well, haven't you? Had a few?
Yeah, I think it's a really bright day. The fish are coming up for something, but I don't think they're coming up very confidently. So it might be the case where you just got to stay on dries and hope that one or two will come up and take it. But at the moment, just don't know where we can.
Well, I've just switched over to a actual damselfly nymph on my point, and I did have a take, and had a fish follow as well. But so we're just drifting, Rob. You haven't got the drogue out.
Not as yet. Not as yet. The wind isn't that strong, but like I say, when we're nymphing, maybe we'll put the drogue out a little bit later on, just to slow the boat right down, so you can fish the flies a lot slower. But at the moment, I think we're fine.
Well, it's definitely a shallow area, isn't it? You can see the bottom. It's probably only about, what, 5 foot deep here?
That's it, yeah. So you can imagine the sun's going to be shining all the way through that. So the fish are still here though. We can see them.
And what have you got on at the moment?
I've got 2 fabs and 2 small dialbacks in the middle. But I think I'm just going to go back on the dry fly for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So we've moved back up here, and there's
a lot
fair
of fish.
few fish showing themselves, isn't there? So we'll see if we can trick one on the dry fly.
Well, if you fish the dry, I'll stay on the nymphs. I've got a damselfly on the point, like a dull back type nymph on the middle, and a hopper on my top dropper.
Hopper on the top dropper.
Yes.
That sounds good.
You see the fish here. It's got to be the damsels they're feeding on, surely.
Well, there's certainly lots of them flying around us, isn't there?
So talk us through what you've got on here now then.
I'm just putting just a single dry fly. It's got a bit of foam in the head, and it's a bit like a damsel-y sort of pattern.
The wind's swirling around quite a bit, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We're probably best to stay out towards the middle of the reservoir. I think it's hitting the bank and just twisting the boat round, isn't it?
So Rob, it's fair to say you've really got into fly fishing, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, yeah, in a big way. Obviously, since packing up course fishing, what, 8 years ago, having 2 young children, I couldn't really put the time and effort into my course fishing like I used to. So I thought I'd take up fly fishing, because I could just take one rod and a small bag and one box of flies, and I get my fishing fix that way. But it hasn't taken long before I'm taking a whole van full of kit.
We've pretty much predicted it, to be honest, Rob.
I think you did. Yeah.
Anything you put your mind to, you don't do things by half, do you?
No, I'm not that sort of character, no. I like to give it my all, James.
But it's amazing, since you started fly fishing competitively, you joined a really good team, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate enough to get asked to join the Ospreys, and they're a great bunch of lads, very experienced, been around for years, some cracking anglers, and they asked us to join, knowing obviously I've just got into it, probably 3 years ago, and they've brought me on a great deal, and I've got some really good friends who have helped along the way as well. So yeah, no, I've been very lucky.
And then you've actually managed to, oh, there's a fish, look. Can I go for that, Rob?
You go for it. I was about to, but I'll give it to you.
I don't want to get in trouble for
poaching
on your fish.
My side of the boat, yeah. That's okay, mate. We are friends.
But this
50-50.
this year, mate, you got selected to fish for England, didn't you?
I didn't get selected. I actually went through a qualifying process. In fly fishing, it's unlike the course fishing, you actually go through a qualifying process. So you have to fish a qualifying heat, and then if you get through, if you finish in the top so many of that, then obviously you get into the national final. And then if you finish in the top 28 in the national final, then you represent England then the following year. So there's 14 in a team. So last year, luckily, the national final was held at Draycott, which is probably one of my local waters. I managed to sneak in, I think about 20th place, 21st maybe, don't know. But yeah, so this year, I got my first England cap in fly fishing.
Well done, mate. And you did ever so well, didn't you? And the team,
yeah, it was a really good day. We had a real good team. We shared all load of information, a real good practice. It was just, the whole week was just fantastic, and fished with loads of confidence. And I think pretty much the whole team did as well. We had a few methods, and we stuck to our guns, and communication was fantastic. And yeah, we managed to win gold, which was just the icing on the cake, really.
Well done, mate. And it's nice just to get out with you and just have a relaxing day. I mean, it's challenging at the moment, but that's the great thing about it, isn't it? It's trying to work it out. And
that's it, James. It's like, so, just saying to you, mate, it's totally, coming from a course fishing background, it's so different. I thought I would be able to do the transition quite quickly and easily, but it's not the case. And I think it's because you can't really get much of a response from the fish like you can course fishing, where you can just change your feed around, or basically the only thing you can do is change the depth of where your flies are sitting in the water. You change your retrieve. That was a fish then. You can change your retrieve, change your flies. Like I say, I'm not too fussed with the flies I've got on, as long as they sort of look like what the the fish are catching or fish are eating, then
I think obviously the main thing is location, isn't it? Find the fish and find the depth probably, and you're halfway there.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
we've definitely found the fish, so we've got to work it out.
There's fish here. There's fish here, but it is very shallow. The sun's shining as brightly as it is. I think they are coming up, but I don't think they're probably coming up. I wouldn't say confidently.
What do you think we should do? Give it another drift here, and then maybe move into slightly deeper water,
I think we should probably go into the slightly deeper water just to see. But like I said, there is a few fish still rising, isn't there? But so whether or not they'll take one of our flies when you've got so many other naturals cutting around, and there's a different story. But
what a beautiful spot! It's unreal, isn't it?
oh, well, yeah. There's worse places to be. It really is a beautiful venue.
Nice one, mate. You got one.
Yes, finally.
And that was on.
Well, I've just been fishing one dry fly, and I am struggling to see it because it's got a little black post, a little foam post. So I was struggling to see it, so I've put on a shuttlecock just above it.
Nice one, Rob. We'll just hold him up for the camera quickly. Don't want to keep him out too long in the sun, but it's a lovely fish, isn't it? It's a couple of pound?
Probably just under £2 maybe.
Yeah, there you go. Get him back.
Lovely
then.
condition, hard fighting rainbow.
So Rob, you had it on a dry fly, yeah? And you actually put another one on. You were fishing with one, and then you put two on. What's you thinking there?
Yeah, I was just fishing a single fly. I was fishing this one with the foam post, and I couldn't really see it. And there's so many fish rising in front of us. I don't think they're taking anything very confidently, being so bright. So I put this CDC pattern just above it, about 3 foot above it, just a bit as a sight indicator really, because obviously that's standing out in the surface film. So I'm watching this, and a fish come up and took this one just behind it.
So you are covering fish. If you see a fish rise.
If I see a fish, I'll try and cover it. But at the moment, like I say, we're probably more effective just casting out and just leaving them.
Oh, well done, Rob. It's great to get off the mark, and just think it's just fantastic working it out. And I guess during the day as well, you know, the fish might move out of these shallows and we might end up fishing different tactics. But
I think so, yeah, definitely. Being so hot and bright, like I say, it's surprising that we're catching anything at all. Why we spun around this way, James?
is it my fault?
It is your fault, yeah.
We're both fishing the dry flies now. What's your tactics, you know? Are you just casting blind, or are you waiting to see a fish? Or?
Yeah, well, waiting to see fish really. What I'm doing, I'm keeping a nice short cast. Keep everything nice and close to the boat and just waiting. Obviously, if we do see a fish within casting distance, I can pretty much pick it up and cast over to it straight away. So it's just a case of keeping everything nice and short until you see a fish.
They've gone back down again, haven't they?
It's because you've set your dries up, that's why.
Way.
Well done, James, excellent. I was just about to cast that rising fish and I didn't realise that your line was out there.
Oh, it's come off.
Oh, no.
Never mind, mate. You know when they do catch and kill,
Yeah.
do they you just have to kill the first 3 you catch, do you? Or?
Yeah, the first 3 you catch, you got to kill. Hopefully that the 3 big ones, because that's what you weigh in. So that's your weight for the day, and then anything thereafter is normally generally classed as £2.
And what do you keep? Do you keep the fish in a cool bag or something?
It's best to, yeah, bass bag. I normally put a bottle of ice water in there just to keep them cool and fresh.
Yeah, because they'll lose a bit of weight, won't they?
Yeah, you'd want water in there anyway, but yeah, just to this time of year, definitely a bottle of cold water. Yeah, but I think more and more matches are going catch and release, and you get a time bonus then once you finish. Say if you catch 9 fish or 12 fish generally, once you catch your 12, then you stop fishing, record your time, and I think it's generally like £2 per hour.
All right. But if you're on a boat with someone and they haven't finished, you just stay out with them.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, we decided on a change of tactics, didn't we? Moved up a bit. It was very flat calm where we were down in the shallows.
Yeah, I think there's still plenty of fish down there, but they're really hard to catch, weren't they? Like I say, they were teasing us, I would say. So we just come up here. This is first cast. We put the drogue out.
Yeah.
First cast, fishing pretty much the same sort of setup as what it started on, and just as I was lifting that up, I seen it swirl at the fly, so I left it and actually seen it come and take the fly. So.
And that's kind of fishing on the hang, isn't it? That's what we call it.
Yeah, call the hang, a little nice slow hang. Never rush to get your flies out the water.
And what fly did that take? Did that take one of your nymphs?
No, it's taken a fab.
Well, we'll stop in a bit and have a look at the actual flies, but it's quite intriguing. Ibrook's quite a big reservoir, and you fish quite a few of the Midlands reservoirs, don't you? Draker and Rutland.
Yeah.
But it's a bit daunting sometimes, fishing a big reservoir. And obviously at different times of the year you've got different situations, haven't you? The fish can be in the deeper water, they can be in the shallow water. So what's your tactics? I know, like drifting, I guess. Drifting like this, you cover the water more, don't you?
Yeah, that's the key thing, is finding the fish is obviously the key to any sort of fishing. And then it's finding the depth of the fish you want to take your flies. Early season, generally you're fishing bright flies because they're recently introduced fish, so they're all fresh and a bit crazy. So your blobs, your fabs, your boobies, your fritz patterns are gonna catch a majority of your fish.
Yeah.
And then obviously a little bit later on you're looking for your buzzer fishing.
That's great, isn't it? The buzzer
fishing.
It's fantastic. You've got probably what, March, April, May sort of time?
Yeah, and end of May, sort of. And then obviously they get really small then, and obviously now June. I think we're just on the change at the moment. There's a lot of fry, little pin fry swimming around in the water over the weed beds, and the fish get preoccupied on those, and the fish just get so hard to catch when they're on those. They're so hard to catch. Oh, there we go. It's a good move.
Well, this tactics has definitely worked, hasn't it?
Yeah. This has taken a muskin on one of the middle droppers. So
what's that? A type of nymph, is it?
Yeah, just like a small little nymph. I can show you. in a sec.
They're having a good scrap anyway.
Oh, they do, yeah. There we go.
Nice one, mate.
That's another bar of chocolate for me, James.
Anyway.
Sorry, another chunk.
Another
chunk. Sure, when you release a fish, they're ready to go because they do exert a lot of energy when you're playing them. They really do put up a good scrap, don't they? So,
And when it's hot as well, you just need to be careful.
Yeah, there you go.
No, he's going off just fine, yeah. We're going to do another drift. I thought it'd be interesting to explain how you set the drogue up. And the drogue's like a parachute, isn't it, at the back of the boat?
Effectively, that's exactly what it is. You know what I say? It's just a rectangle bit of material there. It's gonna, obviously, when it takes in the water, it just slows the boat down.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah, it just enables us to fish our flies a little bit slower. So I think we're in deeper water now, so I think get the flies down a little bit, fish them dead slow, and I think we'll.
And you fixed it both. It's quite ingenious how you've got it set up on these clamps.
Yeah. Well,
So if you just drop that in, Rob, and then we can see how it starts to.
Yeah, obviously the drogue once the boat's moving, the drogue will set itself. Obviously, it's if you want to just chuck your bit over there, old swampy. There you go.
So I guess on certain situations you can adjust the length of the rope on each side to adjust the angle a bit.
Yeah.
Or is it just trying to get it so it's set in one position and it's consistent?
Yeah, obviously consistency is the key. There is times when you might want to slight little adjustments. Any sort of adjustments I ever make, I always inform my boat partner. Just say, look, I'm just going to pull the drogue in, or do you mind letting your drogue rotate a little bit? And it basically this steers the drogue.
Yeah.
So if I make this my side on the engine shorter, then effectively the boat's going to be pushing towards my side.
Yeah.
Vice versa, obviously, if you also pull yours in to make your side shorter, then it will be drifting towards your side.
And we're doing quite a short drift here today.
Yeah.
Because we just want to concentrate on this area. It's almost like the change from the deeper water into those shallows.
Yeah.
So we're going to just keep repeating that. And you don't have to pull the drogue in, do you? You just, it tends to pull behind and then just gets back into position again.
Yeah. Obviously, when you start the engine, just be mindful that obviously you're trying to figure out where the drogue is before you pull the engine. Yeah. And just start off going an arc, and then you don't say it's good practice to probably bring the drogue in. But say
today we're just it's not that windy, is it?
No.
So Rob, that's absolutely brilliant. I think what would be interesting now is if you could just show us, perhaps once the boat gets moving, your actual tactics. So we'll let the boat get going and then we'll do that, all right?
Yeah.
We've got the drogue set nicely now and we're just on a slow drift, sort of at that angle towards the bank. Perhaps you could just explain a bit about your casting and retrieving and how you're actually fishing the flies. Yeah,
well, I've got 4 fly cast on. I've got 8 foot to the first fly, which is a fab, and then I've got 2 nymphs in the middle, 4 foot, 4 foot, and then I've got a fab on the point. Just basically just cast out, pull everything, get it nice and tight, and then a real slow figure of 8. Just let everything fall. I'm not really trying to move the flies, I'm literally just trying to get them just falling through the water column nice and slowly. And occasionally I'll give it a slow draw, a little pull, or I'll give it a fast figure of 8 for a couple of seconds and then just leave it. And then obviously as the flies are coming towards the boat, you want to get them nice and down fairly deep, and then we'll start. And what I'm actually looking at, I'm looking for any sort of movement on the line. And you see at the end of my rod, it just goes a little teeny little loop where it hits the water. That's where I'm paying most of my attention to. So if it lifts up or changes direction, the line a bit further out where you can see changes direction, any sort of movement you want to strike. You normally see movement on your line before you feel anything through your fingers. And as it gets nice and close to the boat, you want to start your hang. So just before the hang, I give it a little flick, might just get them interested. all the way up,
and
and then just repeat the process.
Nice one, Rob. That's really interesting. Well, hey, Rob.
Excellent.
Well, those tactics have really just worked. It's amazing. I was doing exactly what you said. That was about halfway back, and I was only just keeping up with the drift of the boat.
Excellent.
I'm just fishing with 3 flies, and be interesting to see which one it's taken. But it's almost like the fabs are like an attractor sometimes. Do you think?
Oh, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, the bright colour. I think the trout just can't help themselves sometimes. I think they're curious, and they see something out the ordinary and think, oh, I'll have a little look at that. And, has he taken the fab or taken the
No, it's not taken the fab. I don't think so anyway. You gave me what did you call the top one? A floated sort of daddy?
He's taken the fab.
Oh, it's taken the fab, has it?
He's taken the fab on the point.
On the point, yeah. So I'd got that, and I'd got like a dial back on the middle, and then a floating daddy on the top dropper.
Excellent.
It's a wonderful way to fish. Very relaxing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I think this one might be a bit bigger than yours, you know.
A bad old chestnut.
I'm just desperate for a piece of that chocolate.
What, you or the fish?
Oh, he's having a good go, this fish. Well, that's perhaps interesting as well, Rob, because you know with your lock style competition fishing, you only tend to use one rod, don't you?
Yeah, you're
only actually allowed to set one up.
That's it, yeah. Even your spare rod, you can't have a reel on it, so it's just literally just one rod at a time.
And what you've explained to me is that a lot of the time you use quite, a heavier rod. You're using an 8 weight today, aren't you?
Yeah.
Our 10-foot 8 weight.
Yeah.
And I've set up a 5 and a 6 weight. So I'm probably, it's good sport, but in a competition you probably want to get the fish in a bit quicker, don't you?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And you've got to think of the fish as well. Like say, he's going to take a bit of reviving now because he's really exerted a lot of energy, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But he is a good fish.
I think it was.
I'll give you that. He's a lot bigger than ones I've had, yeah. So.
And he's
I
taken
might
that.
even give you two chunks of chocolate for that, James.
He's taken the fab on the point, and the nice thing is all yours are barbless, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that just came out very easily. Well, Rob decided to keep that one, and it's a beautiful fish, look, great condition. So I think what we'll do is now we'll have a break. We'll perhaps go ashore and have a look at some of the flies, and you can explain the rigs to us. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Well done.
Well, Rob, we've come back to the boat dock, and we just thought we'd have a look at the gear that we're using today. It's gone a bit more overcast now, hasn't it? This
Typical.
is probably better fishing conditions. Anyway, we referenced it when we were out there, but you've used our CSM 10-foot 8 weight today.
Yeah.
And you use this quite a lot, don't you?
I love it, yeah. Yeah.
Because obviously, like we discussed, you can only really set one rod up in a competition. And with this rod, you can fish a floating line and then all the different densities of sinking lines.
Absolutely, it has no problem at all, yeah. Yeah, they're a joy to use.
They are nice and light, aren't they? Beautiful.
Yeah.
And we matched it up, well, you matched it up with the 8 weight CSM weight forward.
Yeah.
Full floating line. We've only needed that today, haven't we?
Yeah, the fish, although it's brighter, I still think the fish are quite high up in the water, weren't they?
Definitely, absolutely. So that kind of covers the hardware, if you like. What would be nice is if you could just explain a bit about your rigs, so your leaders and your flies. So first of all, tell us about the leader that you've used today.
Yeah, today I've fished a four fly cast on a floating line. And it's basically fluorocarbon, 100% fluorocarbon. You've got it there.
Yeah, that's our Edge Tackle. You've just started
yeah,
trying
just
to set.
literally the last few weeks have been starting to really like it. Yeah, it's good.
So what's the advantage of fluorocarbon, quickly, just as a statement?
I think it's the way it sits in the water. Obviously, it beds in a lot quicker than mono, and it sinks a fair bit quicker. Yeah. Obviously, 100% fluorocarbon. It's supposed to be nearly invisible to fish. Yeah. Again, I think it's probably more of a
like the presentation, the stiffness, and,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
more dense. It sinks,
absolutely. Yeah, and you know, you fish with confidence.
Yeah.
Anything you got confidence in.
And Rob, being Rob, you're meticulous with your preparation, aren't you? So you put your casts on these foam spools, and I don't know if
Yeah.
Chappie the cameraman can see in here. If not, look, I'll just hold it up. So you got plenty of casts on spools there, just to save time, I guess, in a competition.
Yeah. So, sometimes, obviously, you're fishing, you want to change your cast, or you get in a tangle, which happens quite a lot. You just literally take one of these out. I probably have about 5 or 6 casts on one of these spools.
Yeah. So just to be clear, so the top part of it, you've got 8 foot.
8 foot, yeah.
And then you've got the first dropper.
Yeah.
And then you've got 4 foot.
4 foot.
4 foot. 4 foot.
Yeah.
So that enables you to actually fish with 4 flies.
That's it.
The
yeah.
point fly and 3 droppers.
Yeah. Occasionally you go down to 3 foot spacings, you know,
Yeah.
4 foot spacings. Yeah. But
One thing that I
That's
like,
what's
I
up to
mean, it just as a statement, it is quite a long leader, isn't it? You're looking at sort of 20 foot there, aren't you?
oh yeah.
So if we just show that on one of the rods, perhaps if you take, yeah, I'll hold that up for Chappie.
Cut my drogue, as you do.
I'll just pause for a sec there and bring him up.
It's gone round the back of the reel.
Yeah. So that just shows it really neatly, the bottom section. So it's all the same diameter, 0.23mm.
Yeah.
And you've got 4 foot there from the point fly, which is a fab, to your dropper there. Now, one thing I've learnt today is you use quite long droppers.
Yeah.
Longer than perhaps I would use.
Okay.
And you explained to me a lot about that is because obviously you're constantly changing your flies, so it gives you room as you're changing the flies to,
Yeah.
so going to get a bit shorter, but you're also quite confident fishing with a longer dropper, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, it's all about confidence.
So this was the rig that we used when we moved to that second spot where we got a bit deeper water and there was a nice ripple. We were actually drifting, weren't we, with the drogue? And you nailed it straight away. I mean, you had a fish pretty much first cast.
Yeah.
So just tell us about the point fly.
Yeah, point fly is just Fritz. It's I think it's this one is just orange or sunburst Fritz. The little foam post in the back end. It's called a fab, which is a foam mast blob.
All right, I never knew what that stood for.
Yeah, it's on fairly decent meaty hook, size 14, so not too big.
Just explain to me. So these, they're not floating, but they're sinking very slowly, aren't they?
I would call it a neutral density. So
Yeah.
it just holds up, and it's not going to keep the flies up in the water, but it's going to slow sink, a very slow sink.
And you've got a fairly good selection there, Rob, to choose from.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a matter of getting the right size,
Yeah.
perhaps picking the colour that's working on the
I
day.
think colour's the most important thing, yeah, and size, yeah.
Okay, and some of those are actual boobies, aren't they, rather than a fab? Or...
Yeah, again, if I want to keep the flies higher up in the water, I would just change the point fly to maybe a booby with decent size eyes, or a smaller size booby.
Yeah.
But
That wasn't the case today. Yeah, we just caught on the fab today, and so then to take it to your next fly, which is your first dropper. Tell us about that one, Rob.
This is just a red holographic rib dialback with a jungle cop cheeks.
Let me hold that one up so we can see that one. And what's that, on a size 14 again, or 12?
No, that's actually on a size 10.
Is
so
it?
I want the first dropper is just to bed everything in.
Yeah.
So that's a size 10. Normally 10s or 12s.
And what this is great is you've obviously got the different flies at the different depths. So sometimes you might have the same flies on, but you're looking to fish them at different depths.
That's it, yeah.
But in this case, you're actually offering sort of different options, but they all do a job, don't they? So this is your second dropper. And what's that one, Rob?
That's a muskin, just a green, what we call a muskin fly. So that's a green one. Not to say damsel nymphs are around, so something green might have.
So that's sort of maybe imitating the damsel fly as it's emerging up to hatch.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these patterns are quite universal, aren't they? They're covering a multitude of different insects.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, Rob, your top dropper, and that's another fab, isn't it?
Yeah.
Slightly different pattern. Looks a bit smaller, is it?
No, the same size. Same size. Probably got less foam in the back end.
Yeah.
And what I'll probably do throughout the day is maybe shorten the foam, just bite it a little bit off, just to get it sinking down a little bit faster.
So it's almost to me like these two fabs are a bit like an attractor fly, and then you've got two natural nymphs in between.
Yeah.
But it is interesting the amount of fish you do catch on the fab, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I think the fish can't help themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just see the colour and they'll go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting, Rob. So that's a great insight into the rig that was, I guess, the most productive once we worked out in the short time that we fished. Let's have a look at the dry fly setup, because you did have a fish and we lost a couple, didn't we, and missed a few. So
Yeah, it wasn't great conditions for the dry fly, but we did catch a couple, didn't we?
right then, Rob, so moving over to the dry fly setup, you've got the same leader material, 0.23mm fluorocarbon, edge fluorocarbon.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've just got two flies, so you've got the point fly and this dropper, and that's a shuttlecock fly, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, CDC posts, yeah, yeah.
And that's about a size...
That's probably, it's a fairly big fly.
It is, yeah.
That's really, I put that on just because I was struggling to see the point fly.
Right.
So I'll put that on as a bit more of a sight indicator.
Yeah.
Nice,
and that is on a bit shorter dropper, isn't it, that one?
Yes.
Is that
yeah.
just because you've tied a few flies on today?
Yes, it is, yeah.
But that just sort of shows that that's still a big enough drop. And then your point fly here, that's an interesting pattern. You've got the blue colour there, a bit like the damsel flies.
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of tying your own flies. You can be creative, and I knew I was coming here. I know the damsel flies are very well known here at Ibrook, so I thought I'd try something that would look a bit like a damsel.
And you've got a foam top, which is like a suspender to the fly, isn't it?
That's it.
So that's actually going to sit in the film, just like an insect that's hatching through the water film.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was useful today. I think you had a fish on one. I lost one on one of them, didn't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. Now, we did keep a couple of fish because I was going to have some for my dinner tonight. And we spooned one of them. And I don't know if the cameraman can pick this up, but we've actually got a damsel fly. It's absolutely perfect, isn't it? And that was from the fish. So, I mean, that's just absolute evidence of what these fish are feeding
it's
on.
Obviously just eating it.
Yeah.
I think it was still alive when we took it out.
Yeah, and that's green, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of damsel nymph, the size of what's hatching out today. So it's obviously such a rich reservoir, isn't it? It must be so full of life, the amount of flies that are around today.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. Well, thanks a lot, Rob. Rob, that's been an absolutely wonderful day. Oh, I couldn't wait for that. Just so Chappie knows, it's zero alcohol, look, Chappie, so we're not drinking and driving. But I've thoroughly enjoyed that. Thanks, mate. I've learnt so much today.
Cheers, buddy. You're welcome. Thank you.
It's actually pretty good, isn't it, this zero?
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit disappointed, but...
What, in the Guinness?
Well, I prefer I prefer 5 pints of the real stuff.